Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com coming at you with some Frontier Brewing. I don't know if many of you watched the Market Monday video last week or this Monday. I talked about the Frontier format, and I have really started to ask my players around my local game store if they're interested, and it's been an overwhelming yes from most players. Now, let me reiterate something I said in the Market Monday video about my local game store and the hesitance that I have with newer players, or even I would say a little more established but more casual players that do play in the standard FNM but never avoid the modern FNM like it's the plague. And I started polling them, asking them why is the reason, and a couple of things came up. A, the cost was too high to get into the modern format. B, the kind of power level between their standard deck and a modern, because everyone always says, well, you could just play your standard deck in a modern tournament. Yes, it's legal, but then you go up against decks like Ad Nauseum, or like I play Scred a lot. We have a player that plays Dredge. We have a player that plays Affinity. We have a player that plays Infect. We have a player that plays Jund. So standard decks are not going to be able to compete with that metagame. There's just too many ways that the metagame attacks, even if a person that plays elves too. So a lot of like turn 2, turn 3 decks, or capable turn 2, turn 3 decks in the format, as well as heavy base control decks like Scred and Jund. And it's a lot of them are left. I know we've let people borrow decks before, modern decks, and they're still left scratching their head with how exactly going from standard to modern, there's a huge power level or just even competitive level of play, and it gets very intimidating. So I thought about, so that's A and B. The two reasons is cost and then the power creep. And then the next one is a lot of people are frustrated when rotation happens and a lot of their cards that were good, like Siege Rhino, or this card right here that I'm looking at, Jeskai Ascendancy, they're sort of playable in modern, but not really. So a lot of the cards that could hit price tags of like 5, 6, 7, 8, look at like Hangerback Walker, for example. Those are cards that are really, really powerful in standard. In fact, even format defining in standard, and then completely unplayable in modern. So you have a lot of frustration after rotation. So a lot of people are excited for Frontier because it's going to breathe new life into a lot of their cards that are just gathering dust in their collection. And I put that all together, A, B, C, D, all the reasonings, and I think it's worthwhile to try out the format. I also do like untapped potential out of formats. I think that right now, if you go over to the metagame or all the information we have on Frontier, and most people are just looking at decks that have existed in the past or just building onto their standard decks they have right now and then playing them. There's a ton of either very, very aggro decks and then very, very control decks, and I think that the time will come when people will start musing around with the format and finding other ways to attack the format with combo and whatnot. So this is my first attempt at brewing with the Frontier format. There's a card that I've been obsessed with since it's come out called Silverfur Partisan, and it's just not powerful enough for modern. I've tried it. There are some broken things in modern that you can do with the Silverfur Partisan, but it's a 3-drop. Good luck having a 3-drop actually hit in modern. You have to have a lot of ways to keep it safe, and it's just with format Path to Exiles, the format that Abrupt Decays, lots of ways just to kill it, or a format that's just going to do better things than when you target it, you get a 2/2 wolf. Yeah, it's just not very good in the format. In standard, though, I think the Silver Partisan actually is strong enough, but unfortunately there's really not a lot of cards that interact well with the Silverfur Partisan. So that's my reasoning with, I've tried the decks. Maybe it's about time in standard to try it again. I think that it's still going to be rough with the format that has a lot of 2 removal spells like Declaration in Stone, as well as the Grass of Darkness to deal with the Silverfur Partisan, and not a lot of reliable like cantrip ways. You can see a couple of them right here, but then you're in like these awkward color combinations. So I think though that it does fit very well in a Jeskai Ascendancy type build in the Frontier format. So here's my deck tech. Of course it's not done. You see 43 cards. Yeah, this is not finished. We probably need to play 19, 18 lands, somewhere between there, because we will have Elvish Mystics and Rattleclaw Mystics to help with the mana base. And unfortunately, we don't have a way to generate white mana through a mana dork right now. The best one I can think of is just the 2-drop out of Galadesh, the Servant. But you're kind of restricted with how much energy you have for that card. Possibly we could try to smash it in here instead of Elvish Mystic or something. But I think the Elvish Mystic is fine. So there's two ways that this deck can attack. A is Rattleclaw or Elvish Mystic just get big enough through the Jeskai Ascendancy and just swing in for a ton. And we have Slip Through Space to actually make them unblockable. And B, we just go wide with the Monastery Mentors and the Silverfur Partisans. Again, this deck is anything but completed. It's just an idea right now. We have a lot of cool cantrip spells in the form of Defiant Strike, Expedite, and Slip Through Space. So Slip Through Space gives one of them unblockable, Expedite gives haste, Defiant Strike just gives +1/+0 until end of turn. I would say that Defiant Strike's actually the weakest one out of here, but I don't know if God's Willing wants to be in this particular slot, or just another thing to work off of Odric. Now we'll talk about Odric in a second. We have Court of Callings, probably need to go up in the count because Odric is going to be very, very, very necessary for this build. Jeskai Ascendancy is going to just, a few spells will actually be lethal. So like a Silverfur Partisan, you have a Jeskai Ascendancy out, you cast a Silverfur Partisan, and then you expedite it. There now is a 3/3 and a 2/2, and then you get a Slip Through Space, you now have a 4/4, a 3/3, and a 2/2. So there, right there is quite a bit of damage. And then it would just need to be like one, you have like an Elvish Mystic or Rattleclaw, they're all untapping. And then what you need to find is the Odric. So Court of Calling probably needs to be a 4 of in this deck. You chord for the Odric. Odric says at the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike. The same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. So the whole point of it is to get expedite, haste. I'm thinking also maybe like a Reckless Bushwhacker could go in this slot too. So you have to have haste, and then all of your other creatures will gain haste. And then you can attack in that turn for hopefully lethal. So there's a lot of maybe other things we could put in here for giving flying, for giving menace. I just don't know the right answer for that. Because right now, you still want to run as many cantrips as possible because it helps loot through your deck, helps you have that low mana count. The Jeskai Ascendancy just goes nuts with it, especially with a Rattleclaw Mystic like Slip Through Space and Expedites are free spells. Gather Courage is also in this slot. Gather Courage says Convoke, so anything, the Ephemeral Shields and the Gather Courage are really good in this one because off of the tokens you can actually convoke them, and then they'll untap. So these definitely become draw spells with the Jeskai Ascendancy and the draw and free. So they'll trigger everything, and yeah, so between Silverfur Bazaars and Monastery Mentor, you're going to overwhelm with tokens on one turn. We'll probably put a Lumbering Falls in here for another land that can then untap with the Jeskai Ascendancy. It also gains Hexproof, gives another little way for our deck to win. I don't think that we'd want any of the other lands. I thought about maybe Needle Spires because Needle Spires really does get out of control. But it's very, those come into play tapped. Of course, you don't really want them because you're going to be trying to have untapped lands each turn. Needle Spires as a one-up does seem pretty good. Maybe in the sideboard. There's other cards like Gideon that I thought of because it can immediately emblem, and that's a very, very powerful ability in this deck. With, I think Gideon would want to go into more of a Jeskai tokens, which I'm surprised that no one's done a Jeskai Ascendancy tokens list with the Frontier format. So the other cards that I thought is very, very interesting that no one's used so far is the Weaver and the Thing in the Ice. Looking over the metagame for the Frontier format, there seems to be a lot of aggression. The number one deck right now would be the Rally Combo would be the most 3-0 finishes, but Elves is very, very close as well. There's a Panharmonicon Elves deck that tries to use Dwindling Elite to just get a bunch of Elf tokens and then Shaman, and then with Panharmonicon and Shaman, that all you have to have is 10 Elves out, and that's lethal right there. And if you've done any other damage, that it gets lethal very quickly. It's also a toolbox list with Court of Calling and Eldritch Evolution, and it's a pretty cool deck. But Weaver, I think Thing in the Ice and Weaver really, really shut down that deck, and no one's really, they're trying a lot of like these single target removal type decks through Jace and cards like Wild Slash and Lightning Strike. But any go wide type strategy does very well against single target. Weaver is the perfect card for go wide. It just continues to shoot down cards. The 1/4 body actually dodges Lightning Strike, and Lightning Strike is the #1 card being played right now in the Frontier format. Thing in the Ice is very similar. Thing in the Ice dodges the Lightning Strike, and all you have to do is cast 4 spells. So I think UR Prowess is a very, very good deck to think about running right now in the format, and you can start going back to older cards like Wild Slash and Lightning Strike. Right there gives the deck a lot more burst. Reckless, the what's the one they need? The Thermal Alchemist too seems pretty decent right now in the format. So anywho, going back to this one, I think that Odric is the key card with Court of Calling. I think that maybe we should look for a double striker, but this is where we could activate. It'd be hard. You'd have to have like multiple Elvish Mystics, but more importantly, multiple Rattleclaw Mystics to generate the right type of mana for the deck to animate a Needle Spires or animate a Lumbering Falls for Hexproof and Double Strike. Again, we could try to look for something that has like all of the abilities, Trample, something that has like Trample, and I know there's a few cards we'd have to look and just look over the cards that I've seen play in the past. But I think this is an incredibly powerful type of card. Really can just one-shot your opponent out of nowhere. And definitely looking forward in the comment section below about any cards you would add to this deck. Again, this you could go all in an Elvish Mystic, Rattleclaw Mystic, Honored Hierarch type build that we've seen in the past with the Jeskai Ascendancy, or just even go the full tokens route with like Monastery Swiftspear, Monastery Mentor, Raise the Alarms, Hordeling Outburst with Jeskai Ascendancy. That seems like a very powerful strategy in this type of format. So what I'm going to offer right now is we're probably too busy during the holiday seasons to do this, but at the beginning of, I would say January, February, swimming season will end February, and then I'll have a ton of time just to dedicate 100% to the YouTube community and the YouTube channel and get back to brewing decks. Again, this is a very, very busy time for me. With the shop being, this is Q4, this is the time where shops are actually worth running because you get a lot of sales, as well as the swim season. There just isn't a lot of time for me to dedicate towards the YouTube channel. But come January, February, definitely I want to hit Frontier hard. So I'm hoping that I'm going to get a few other personalities. Like I've reached out to Travis Wu. I'm going to reach out to some of the other YouTubers and see if we can start a Frontier kind of tournament. I'm thinking that I can guide people on how to use recording software, but not just recording software, but just sharing screens. And I don't think we can do it real time because it's just too open to cheating. But I want to run a Magic Online tournament with the Frontier format. And how people will do that, they'll just build freeform because Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise are banned in both Legacy and Modern. Speaking of those two would fit perfectly in this deck, Treasure Cruise especially. But what we're going to do is I think we're going to try to host a tournament over at roguedeckbuilder.com. Huge shout out right now to our programmer, Mara, for creating some widgets and some deck lists, our deck creators. We're going to show that. We're going to introduce you to that on the site pretty soon, again, when things calm down. And my goal was to make a community for roguedeckbuilder.com. That was a whole purpose to this channel, and I think I failed miserably. We've done some tournaments in the past with the Rogue Master Brewer and other things, but I want to get back to the more community feel, and it's just a matter of time before I become irrelevant. And I know a lot of you don't want it. Maybe a lot of you think I'm already irrelevant, but that's just the nature of the beast. I think that maybe becoming more of a commentator slash personality slash, I don't know, just community organizer might be my role in the future. And it might be the time to just kind of have more premier brewers start taking over the reins. And I think the best way to do that is just to host these tournaments and just see how well certain people are, and reach out to them and give them a home through Rogue Deck Builder. So I want to do that through a Frontier format. I think about even sponsoring prize. So like how interested would you be as a person for like a $5 or a $10 entry fee for a Frontier format, and we all host it, and then the top 8 will be commentated on. Like so how people will do it is they'll just share screens. And I have a program called, a lot of streamers use a program called Open Broadcast Software. It's very easy to like splice different people's screens and then compact it into one screen, and then like maybe Tiwu and I could commentate during the top 8 matchups and just see how well we do at those. Or we can even get in some other commentators that would like to that are maybe better than us at actually commentating on games, and we'll do a whole top 8 tournament, and the whole works, and then give out prize. And maybe we'll do this as like a monthly thing, or a thing that's, I think Wizards failed miserably. Their Community Cup was okay, but it just wasn't professionally done. And I mean, they have their Pro Tours, the coverage is decent, but as far as an esport is concerned, it's not an esport when it's a paper cardboard tournament, and they're just basically videotaping the Pro Tours and the Grand Prix. I think we can do a better job just utilizing MTGO. Like I've complained about there's not a good spectator like there is on like Dota 2 especially. Like you can go find a commentated game right now on Dota 2. There'll be some high-ranking game that a professional commentator is spectating and like controlling the camera angles and things like that, and actually commentating on the game right now going on. Any day you can find one. And I think that MTGO is really missing out on that there could be professional commentators. Like in League of Legends and Dota and even some of these first-person shooters, I know that Overwatch especially has people that's all they do. All they do is commentate and organize tournaments, and it really adds to the community. I think that, again, we waited and waited and waited for Wizards to do this. They're never going to do this. Besides making a great card game, like, I've got to give it to Wizards, the designers of Wizards. They make a phenomenal card game. Nothing comes close to it. Hearthstone is nowhere near as, in my opinion, as in-depth as Magic. But what Hearthstone has going for it is just the community is much better than the Magic community. And the Blizzard is just such a better run company than Wizards of the Coast when it comes to actually community management and creating hype and just getting everyone, incentivizing people to come together as a community and actually organize these type things. And so I think that if we're going to wait on Wizards, we're going to wait forever. They're in their own little free fall right now as far as the growth is concerned. I know that there's a huge panic going on at Wizards. Like, we've asked for reprints and asked, like, for years said, you need to reprint more, you need to reprint more, and how they seem to have flooded the market, and the market is actually not responding well. We have a lot of people, you can just go watch any YouTuber right now, any store owner, and people are panicking about just the route. It almost looks like a money grab. It almost looks like a company that is looking to squeeze as much last bit of money out before they like annihilate the product. I don't think that that's the case. I think that that Magic still has another good 20 years, or as long as people like collectible card games, it has an infinite amount of years, as long as the design team is still good. And I don't see that changing. I think that the direction, that's one of the reasons why I think Frontier is going to be a pretty interesting format, is Cons Forward has some pretty unique, like, there isn't a lot. I would say maybe Delve and Delirium might be a little too powerful compared to other mechanics, but all in all, we don't have a lot of the busted stuff that still exists in Modern. And maybe as Frontier goes on, yes, we'll have to add a ban list, but for right now, it seems to be pretty wide open. But so as far as the game is concerned with design, it's a great game. And we need to kind of take charge, though, and start organizing the community. That's why I started the channel, is there was a need for rogue decking to begin with, and I still think there's a need for that kind of commentating community. Some professional companies like Star City Games and Channel Fireball have done a decent job, but that's still, I wouldn't say, the community as a whole. These are still incentivized by like profits, and no one is really doing it out of just sheer love of the game. And so, I don't know, I guess I'm just reaching out to other people. How well do you think that'd be receptive if we could actually do this properly, professionally? So I think that I could handle it, me and my team, or if anyone else wants to help out with it, it'd be very simple. So I don't think we could do it live, just because people could jump on stream and then see us streaming it, and then like if they're online as well, they could see what their opponent has in their hand. So it'd have to be delayed by a few hours, but a live-ish stream, I mean, I guess if they could just share their screens, we could record it and then commentate on it later, live commentate on the games later with someone like Travis Wu or another brewer such as that, and then we can kind of give our insights and just do a massive tournament with decent prize support. Again, I am a full-fledged Wizards Play Network store. So we have access to product that we can easily have a prize pool like that. I mean, there is a little bit of legality just for giving cash back as prize, but giving product back, that should be no problem, or any other incentivization for that. So anyway, long ramble. I probably could have done this in like 2 minutes, but let me think about your suggestions, how you feel about this. Would it be feasible? Would it not be feasible? Is it a stupid idea? Is it time for me to become irrelevant? Let me know in the comment section below. This is my first take at Frontier, really because of Silverfur Partisan. I know this is just kind of thrown into a Jeskai Ascendancy shell, but I think that that's where this card will shine the best. Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.